Welcome to Section 2.2, Part 2. This is the 13th session of the ISACA CISA exam prep series. This part picks up where the last one left off. In this session, we'll cover the people and structures that run technology. We'll work through several questions. Which committees steer technology decisions? What do boards and senior leaders owe security? How is a technology department actually organised? Who owns and protects the data? Why does separation of duties matter so much? And what tells an auditor the structure is failing? Why does this matter beyond the exam? Because roles and boundaries are where control lives or dies. Picture a logistics firm where one person codes, approves, and deploys changes. That single point can hide a mistake or a fraud for months. Clear roles and proper separation close that gap. Spotting weak structure is core to what you do. So which committees steer technology decisions? Two committees sit above the daily work, and they differ in focus. A strategy committee advises the board. It looks forward at how technology fits the business direction. Its members are board members plus outside specialists. A steering committee assists the executives. It oversees the day-to-day delivery of projects and services. It decides spending levels, approves plans, and sets priorities. Its members are sponsoring executives, key users, and the technology chief. Think of it this way. The strategy committee asks, where should we go? The steering committee asks, how do we get there now? A formal charter should define that steering group, and it should review major projects without sinking into routine operations. What do boards and senior leaders owe security? The board is the accountable and liable body. It must know the critical information assets and their value. It sets the tone, and it enforces consequences from the top. Senior management turns that intent into a working strategy. They lead it, fund it, and align it with the business. Many also run a security standards committee. It gathers senior people from across affected groups. That mix builds consensus and keeps security aligned with the business. So who leads security day to day? Every organisation has a security chief, named or not. The role may be carried by another senior officer, but the scope is so wide it belongs at the top. When a deliberating committee weighs controls, that chief drives it. Such a committee pulls in information technology, business owners, operations, audit, and legal. Audit makes sure systems stay auditable with proper logs. Legal weighs in on where the law and liability come into play. The membership flexes to fit the matter at hand. How is a technology department actually organised? A chief or director sits at the head. Below them sit several broad functions. Application staff build and maintain the software. They work in a test environment, never touching production directly. Infrastructure staff maintain the operating systems and core platforms. Their broad access must be logged and tightly controlled. Operations runs the data center and keeps systems available. A control group handles input and output of sensitive data. And user support, like a help desk, answers technical problems. Other specialists round it out. Systems analysts translate user needs into design documents. A database administrator defines and guards the shared data. Network administrators run routers, switches, and firewalls. Security architects and engineers design the protective layers. And a quality assurance manager keeps standards on track. What about managing vendors and special systems? As outsourcing grows, dedicated staff manage the vendors. They act as the main contact and monitor service levels. They review contract changes and report back to management. Some environments also run industrial control systems. These supervise plants and equipment spread over wide areas. Picture sensors on a remote wind farm feeding a control room. Operators watch the readings and adjust when needed. Many of these once used private lines, but now ride the internet. That brings easy integration, but also exposure to attack. Who owns and protects the data? This is about fixing accountability to real people. Data owners are managers who decide classification and access. They authorize who gets in and review those rules over time. They stay responsible for their data across its whole life. Data custodians store and safeguard it, like systems staff. Security administrators provide the physical and logical protection. Data users simply work with the data they are granted. They stay alert and follow the security policies. And new users sign on to clear obligations from day one. Keep passwords secret, lock screens, report anything suspicious. Every access grant should be authorized in writing so it can be checked. Why does separation of duties matter so much? Because no single person should control a whole sensitive process. When one person can do everything, errors and fraud slip through unseen. So you split the key duties apart. Custody of the assets goes to one role, authorization goes to another, and recording the transaction goes to a third. Without that split, the damage is real. Assets can be misappropriated and records quietly altered. Financial statements can be wrong, and improper changes go undetected. Picture one developer who writes code, approves it, and pushes it live. Nothing stops a harmful change from reaching production. So how do you enforce that separation? Several controls work together. Transactions are authorized at the right level in the user department. Asset ownership is assigned clearly and in writing. Access to data is layered through physical, system, and application security. Owners file formal forms that define each person's rights. Those rights feed user authorization tables that are tightly protected. And a control log records activity for management to review. One more habit helps with privileged users. Send their logs to a separate server they cannot touch. That way, the administrator cannot edit the record of their own actions. But what if the team is too small to separate everything? In a tiny shop, one person may wear many hats. When duties cannot be split, you add compensating controls. Audit trails let you retrace every transaction end to end. Reconciliation independently confirms the numbers balance. Exception reports get handled and signed off at the supervisor level. Transaction logs capture what was processed. Supervisory reviews watch the work directly, and independent reviews catch mistakes that slipped past the process. These do not replace separation, but they reduce the risk it leaves behind. So what tells an auditor the structure is failing? A handful of warning signs keep showing up. Runaway costs, budget overruns, and late projects. High staff turnover, and leaning too hard on a couple of key people. Frequent errors, slow response, and a backlog of user requests. Unauthorized hardware or software purchases. Exception reports that pile up and never get followed. To dig in, you review the governing documents, strategies, policies, charts, job descriptions, and committee reports. Then you ask two simple questions. Were they created as management intended? And are they current and up to date? So let's bring it together. Strategy and steering committees aim technology at the business. Boards and senior leaders own security from the top. Clear roles assign every duty to someone accountable. Data owners, custodians, and users each carry a defined part. Separation of duties keeps any one person from controlling it all, and when duties cannot split, compensating controls fill the gap. Master these structures and you can read any technology shop quickly. The MCQs covering all the topics and concepts from this session are available on RooCloud.com. Practice the chapter-specific MCQs before moving on to the next session. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or feedback, post a comment below or email us. I will see you in the next session.